Hey YouTube, it's me again. Uh, I've been watching tarot card readings and channel messages and such online for a couple years now, at least 2 or 3 years, if not more. And I felt like that was where my life was kind of guiding me to go uh, do as well, and I have done and will do more. Um, but lately, I've been feeling like I'm meant to focus more on just off the cuff talking about my life experiences and what I've been going through, what I'm emotionally, spiritually. Uh, there I go with the nose thing again. Um, anyway, going back to the tarot videos I've been watching, a lot of people have been picking up on this. Uh, how do I say? The words "tell your story" or something of that, something to that effect, have been coming across in a lot of readings I've been watching, and it kind of struck a chord with me because someone many years ago, someone close to me, or formerly close to me anyway, said the same thing. And God, my camera angles are fucking awful. Jesus. Buy a tripod if you can afford one. Trust me, because my arm is gonna get tired here. Um, anyway, tell your story. That's what I've been getting lately from the universe. The prevailing message. I remember when this person who's close to me told me that. I remember I recall being extremely angry, not at them, but at the idea of, first off, why would anybody care? Who would want to hear what I had to say? I never felt important. Um, Past tense, like I'm in a much better place now, emotionally and all that. But I mean, I still have things to work out. But the point I'm making here is that, yeah, I never felt like what I had to say was ever of any value to anybody outside of myself. And secondly, I felt like if I were to do that, to tell my story, it would require me to, well, either require me to or lead me into places where I would be betraying certain personal truths, I guess, or truths about other people, including the one who said this to me initially. And I was angry because I've always had a very strong sense of loyalty to people, misplaced in a lot of situations, even in close relationships. But I can't hide from that anymore. I can't resist that, and I can't. Um, I'm sorry. My brain is everywhere right now. I'm still working through this idea of being seen and heard, and you can kind of tell by my space cadet demeanor here. I'm not focused, and I'm working on that. But uh, it, it's less of a matter of focus and more a matter of I have never been comfortable being seen, and so it's hard for me to sit here and watch this as it's being recorded. Uh, anyway, so I'm going to tell my story in this video and in any follow-up videos I make here. I'm looking at notes here on my notepad. Uh, I think where I intend to start on this storytelling adventure of mine is back about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, late 2024, like in I don't know. Actually, technically, it would have been June or July. Coming up this June or July, it had been 3 years from then when my awakening really kind of popped off. Actually, back in May of 2024, because I'm getting ahead of myself. Around May of 2024, I had this, what I can only describe as surge of fire and fury in me, energetically speaking. If you can imagine a visual that would compare, it felt to me like, literally felt like my Goku moment. If you're familiar with Dragon Ball, the cartoon series, it felt like a Dragon Ball moment, like of just so much energy flowing through me that it was fire, literally energetic fire. Like if you could have seen it, it would have looked like a cartoon. And I'm not exaggerating here. That's what it felt like. And a late night, midnight or later wall of text, and I guess in a short description, trauma dumping on my one of my parents, or I wouldn't say it's trauma dumping as so much as like a state of being so fed up with my life and with the way I was being treated, and the mistakes I've made and the decisions I've been making that have not been to my benefit, and trying to be some kind of saint for everybody around me. Goddamn fucking camera. I'm sorry. Trying to be some kind of saint to everybody around me, when I could scarcely take care of myself, financially or otherwise. Literally giving them the shirt off my back, or all those analogies, and anyway. Fast forward to June, like I mentioned at some point when I was talking to my dad about this, this initial like explosive awakening, the beginnings of my awakening, I guess I'll call it that, the beginning. And my grandparents had died. My dad's parents had died not too long before this happened. Months or a year or so. First my grandpa, and then my grandma a year or two later, and in the busyness of us all being grown kids, and our parents, and my siblings' kids, and et cetera, nieces, nephews, and on and on. We hadn't really had a proper send off to, or any kind of memorial thing, formally or informally. So I kind of floated the idea to my dad, and that led to June or July. I flew out to California. We all did, for a little gathering at their former ranch house, my grandparents' house that they had lived in for a number of years. In my later childhood years, that's kind of how I knew them. Was anyway. Prior to going to California, I'd had one very disturbing vision, a dream vision when I was asleep. Do I tell them that or no? I guess I'm not supposed to say anything about that. But it was a message that I felt was one of warning about certain people in my life. And then when I went to California, I had another 2 or 3 of these similar visions about other people as well. Again, close people in my life, friends, family, mostly family, um, and they all felt like, in the dark sense, ominous. Like if I didn't get away from them, things would get worse. If I didn't separate myself from their goings on and their bad, it's not that I thought that they were evil or malicious in the physical sense, emotional, like in this reality, but they're subconsciously, I felt like there was something very um, unhealthy between us, from them and from me, and it's hard. Like I still have a hard time putting it to words because I never wanted to believe that I would ever have to turn my back on them in the way I have. I have tried to be the kind of person they wanted me to be, and I have never felt accepted. Like they have said many times, for over many years, that they love me, and in some ways they've shown that, but in other ways it was like that was the hand with the rose, while the other hand with the knife was hiding behind the back, waiting to strike. And I didn't want to believe that, but I had to see it firsthand spiritually to really come to an acceptance of that and be able to move on. So, and I sold my house back in August or September of 2024 that I've been living in. It was let's just say it was an inheritance of sorts from me. But it never felt like mine. It never felt like I belonged there, that it belonged to me, that I had any desire to have it. I didn't want to be there. So I sold it after having been married and divorced for many years prior to that. And since then, I have, by definition, I have been homeless for going on 3 years now. And I'm not saying that part to make you feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for me at all. I had to go through it. It was the path that was set in front of me. It was the path I chose because it was where I needed to be. There was a lot of things I needed to learn and experience in my awakening process, my healing process, and it's been good, it's been bad, and it's been ugly. And if you have seen my presence online anywhere, either on YouTube or on Substack or Facebook or anywhere, that I've pissed off a lot of people. Random people online that I looked up to that didn't know me, had no idea who I was. I've made an ass of myself quite a few times. Which leads to another thing. Another tarot card reader, just past few days, has been picking up the same thing I've been feeling. In that, I think that's part of my purpose in life, is to be seen in the process of healing, not just to talk about how it works or from an outsider's perspective. I think it's part of my purpose here on YouTube or wherever I'm at online or in person to be the example, not to speak of the example from a outside perspective, but to be the example for others. And I'm not saying this with any kind of ego. It's not a fun path, trust me. To be under attack spiritually, psychic attack, spiritual warfare, all the usual terms for spiritual growth and what all that stuff. But all that was caught. I mean, responsibility being where it belongs. Accountability. I'm a firm believer, and I strongly stand on the idea that I have to take accountability for my own actions, my own failures, my own mistakes. All that stuff. The good and the bad. Take accountability for it. But there are certain lines in the sand that I had to acknowledge as not being um, certain um, responsibilities in that sense, in the sense of actions and consequences. Um, I grew up in a Christian home, like many others here, I'm sure. I am not Christian anymore. I don't follow Christianity. I do not. I didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. But there are many things to learn from the Bible or from another source entirely. It's all valid, but the politics of religion is not. And I walked away from that because I realized I saw it for what it was. I'm getting off course here a little bit, but accountability. What was I saying? Oh yeah, being seen in my unfolding disaster. put it that way. The unfolding disaster of intensive, very very intense spiritual healing. I have been hurt so many times. Again, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. This is not a pity party here. It is my lived experience, and I'm speaking as objectively as I can here, without putting my own feelings in the mix. I was hurt a lot, physically, mentally, spiritually. I've been under assault my entire life by so many people I should have been able to trust in, and have and felt safe around. I never did. I never felt safe. And recently, I invited my parents. I'm adopted. I invited my parents out to where I'm at. I wanted to meet them in person so I could bury the past, with them and kind of close the door a little bit. Not. I don't want to say that I wanted to completely cut them off, but create enough distance between me and them emotionally and spiritually that I could finally live my life on my terms. I felt like every mistake I made had their hand in it somehow. Again, back to accountability. Every mistake I made was a result of not being understood, or bad intentions on someone else's part, or bad motives from someone else, toxic motivations of whatever sort, corporate or personal or anything of the sort. And the response I got when I sent this invite, I will admit that the way I went about it was a little bit cowardly, I guess, for lack of a better word. I reached out to my mother's aunt, or to my mother's sister, my aunt, and proposed the idea of meeting up here together, just me and my parents, through this aunt of mine. So I mean, I feel like I should have just called them directly, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to talk to them personally, over the phone, because I felt like they would want to ask a million questions and try and justify this or that, or talk me into a certain point of view, and it's, I didn't want that. I wanted to, in the nicest way possible, tell them to fuck off, to leave me alone and let me live my life. And I say that with as much love and grace as I could possibly muster, given everything I got. Again, I wanted to bury the past, bury the hatchet. Put bad blood, let the water flow under the bridge, and forever be in the past. And I still stand on that. Yeah, that's the point of what I'm saying here. And the response was, from one of them, it was they literally wanted to phone it in. They didn't want to fly out here because of, and no shade, no judgment here. It was a concern over money, which on its face is fine, but coming from the person who the person in my life who said that they were of faith and belief in a higher power, in the Christian sense, and that all the things that the Bible teaches and the Christianity teaches. When it came to put the rubber on the road and prove it, I got this I can't be bothered at it. Like, it felt, they said they didn't want to come out here because it was about money, and I set an arbitrary date of sometime early next month, coming up in June, to meet here where I'm at, which again, not much was said to clarify that between us, but I have some place I need to go in the next, in July. I'm going somewhere. I've been, for the past 2 years, for almost as long as I've been traveling now. I've been wandering coast to coast, up and down California, all over the country in America, and for almost as long as I've been on the road, homeless and traveling like a nomad, like a gypsy, which I kind of identify with. I kind of identify with the not in the cultural ethnic sense, but in the spiritual sense. I'm a gypsy. Domestic life does not suit me, or at least it hasn't in the past, and I'm sure at some point I'll be able to settle down and rest and be happy with that. But anyway, for the past 2.5, 3 years, I've been feeling this unshakable urge or calling, or call it what you will. Go to Hawaii. Go to some place I've been to before, and I don't know how. I have no idea how it's going to happen. I'm sure where faith comes in, I know that I'll get there. I know I'll have what I need to make it happen. I haven't a fucking clue how, and fucking knows. Nope. Yeah. Nope. It's so embarrassing. Anyway, I've been guided to pursue YouTube as a means of sharing what I know, what I've learned, I guess, and what I've experienced, what I've learned through those experiences, spiritually or intellectually or what have you. Yeah, so this final conflict, back to the invite I put out to my parents. that response, middling at best, not hostile. It didn't feel like hostility on his face. Like the response like I got through my aunt didn't feel hostile, but the feelings like the feeling I got in my body and in my spirit, my soul, immediately afterwards was like that response made me feel like I'd just been gut punched, or I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach and then knocked my ass emotionally. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I was trying to be civil and respectful like I don't have any animosity toward them anymore. I'm over it, but I wanted to let them know that in person. I wanted them there in person so I could finally just, hand to hand on each other, say goodbye in a way. Say goodbye peacefully and with love and compassion and understanding. And pardon me if I cry. I'm about to cry. Acceptance. Just accept what was for what it had to be. I want peace with everyone in my life, and I can't have that with him. There's no peace there. I'm sorry. And it hurts so much sometimes, but I came to the realization that they have been holding on to me so tightly that they've been choking the life out of me. Emotionally and spiritually, they've been choking the life out of me. They've been there for me financially to help me in my hardest times, and I love them for that. I appreciate that part of what they've done, but it came at too high a cost. It cost me too much of myself. When I was crying out for help, I wanted them to help me, not just throw money at the problem and then walk away again. And they weren't hearing me. They weren't understanding me. Because they didn't want to. They didn't care anymore. They didn't feel like they cared anymore. They just had given up on me years ago. And I felt like my whole life I felt like extra baggage, a piece of luggage for them to carry around, while they tended to my siblings' needs, their sports games and their school affairs and this and that, their extracurricular shit, whether it was in school or out of school stuff. They had a great childhood. My siblings did. They had better than I did. I won't say it was great compared to mine. Or I'm sure they had their troubles with my parents too, and I won't minimize that, diminish that, but I feel like in a lot of ways, in so many ways, I got the worst of it. I got the worst of it, and I cannot say that with ego or with any kind of pretentiousness or whatever, but it's time for me to move on. And I'm sure they're gonna. I'm sure one of them's watching this right now, or will be seeing this at some point. And I hope they understand. But I don't. I can't worry about whether they do or not anymore. It's not my problem. I know who I am. I know what I've been through, and I know what it's called. And I'm not gonna back down on that. I'm gonna speak my truth, and that's it. If it's ugly, it's ugly, and if it paints anyone in a bad light, then that's not my problem. I don't believe in sin, but I've committed my sins, and I've owned that, and I'm sure that they think that I'm sure that they feel the same way about a lot of what they've done, and I'm not saying that they're full of it. That's not what I'm saying, but there is so much that has not gone accounted for, and the powers that be upstairs, so to speak, are not happy. And this final attempt on my part to reach out to them and make peace was, in the biblical sense, it was the final battle. the one spoken of in what was it, Revelations. That was the final battle, and ironically enough, the bit about creating the new heaven and new earth. I actually, at one point in time during this sojourn or this pilgrimage I've been on, as I've called it, a pilgrimage. I was up north in Humboldt County, California, up in the Redwoods area, and part of my getting by from day to day has been panhandling. Cardboard sign, the whole 9 yards. And in one of these little adventures, I'll call it, in panhandling, someone came by with a bag of clothes, and one of the things in there was a T-shirt with the words "New Earth" on it. It was a farm of I think it was a marijuana farm. I looked it up recently. I believe it's a marijuana farm, a pot farm somewhere up there in the green country up north, and that struck me as kind of hilarious, spiritually speaking, symbolically speaking, because of what I've been going through. And it was almost like a prophetic, here's your sign, white collar comedy tour of the spiritual type. Here's your sign. And so I feel like my relationship with my parents has taken that split into two different realities. Like you talk about in quantum mechanics or quantum physics or whatever, where reality, if two people or two or more people are not on the same wavelength or frequency, as the energetic frequency, that the reality shifts between them in different directions. It forks off. A little fork in the road. And I have gone one way, and they have gone the other way. In my interpretation of what's going on here, and I think I've finally come to a point where it's. If you read my compost, my community post on my YouTube page, I channeled a Bible verse that spoke of when a child of a parent is finally has to leave the parents behind, and that's where I'm at. I have never truly understood that verse until now. And it's talking about the union of a child with their partner and leaving the parents behind, because the parents tend to. I think the verse was trying to suggest or imply that if there is still an emotional connection to the parents from either the quote unquote husband or wife of a couple of these children of the parents, that relationship between these children, so to speak, is tainted. It's at risk of problems, of interference. It actually says interference, and the verse mentions external interference. Is what I think the words they use verbatim is external interference from others, and they're implying that. Like a good example, if you've ever watched the TV show Everybody Loves Raymond. It was 20 some odd years ago at this point, or more. A little sitcom about Raymond and his wife, and the parents living across the street, and the brother, always barging in, always being there, and always being obnoxious, and Raymond is just not having it. He had enough. He's like, knocking on, go away, you're causing my life to be chaos. And that's kind of what that verse is saying, is that that's what happens, and that is what happened in my life. Is that it was utter chaos. I have been trying to find stability since I left home in high school, and I have never had it. I mean, I've had my own problems. Again, mental health and all that, but I'm kind of ranting at this point. I hope I've gotten the point across of what I'm trying to say without just sounding like a raging Hulk. uh, uh, anyway, I have much more to say, and I will share more later. But I just wanted to kind of start introducing myself to you guys in a personal setting, without trying to do all this frou-frou shit and put on a show. I don't want to put on a show. I want to be real and raw and honest. I grew up in a fairly not super rich, but middle class, lower middle class. We weren't hard up for money. We didn't have a lot, but we weren't scraping pennies. 6 kids and two parents and six kids, and we had a nice house. We had a nice life growing up, financially speaking. It was easy street. There were, at least on the surface, all the darkness was underneath and hidden very well. It was very hush hush. Put on a show for the public. Don't let them see the don't let them see the wizard behind the curtain. These are not the joys you're looking for, kind of thing. The whole, you get the point. And so I'm just here to show the ugliness of it all, to show you the good, like the process of healing. I'm deep in it right now. I'm not here to talk about what astrology is saying about what's happening in the world or in the universe. I'm not here to have I watch these tarot card readings, and I see these people channeling their messages from higher beings, and that's great. I do see value. I find value in that for myself, and I see value in it. But I don't receive the messages the same way. I get like words or phrases, like short words or phrases, or visuals in mental visuals, or even like physical signs, a passing car, a license plate, a song. Birds acting a certain way, or what have you. I see it everywhere. I was like right there. A duck just landed in the creek right up the way from me. So I can turn around and show you. Yeah, there's a duck over there, way over there. You see the duck? 2 of them. There's 2 of them. I don't know if you saw that or not, but yeah. And right up in that same spot recently, I saw a deer also. Anyway, my channeling is such that it's always on. I'm never not getting signs and messages from somewhere, and call that what you will, good, bad, or that I'm being reckless or not being responsible with my energetic boundaries. And on some level, you're probably right, but I have the opinion, or at least currently, I feel like there is no turning it off. I can't unsee what I see. I can't feel what I feel. Or I can't not feel what I feel and know what I know. I can't not see it. I can't not feel it. I can't not know it. I am a walking radio receiver. We all are. And once you've turned on the receiver and started listening to the signals, there's no turning it off, in my opinion. You could try and block it out and ignore it, yeah, you can ignore that shit, but you can't turn it off. It's anyway. So when I'm making these videos, I'm just or when I'm getting these signs, I don't. There's no context to it at all. Like I don't have a lot of times, you know. Sometimes I see it immediately. I see the usually the way it works for me is when I see something, or when I catch a sign or a synchronicity or a message of some sort. It's either I'm catching the after effect of that message, or that thing that's happening in the spiritual realms after the fact, or I'm seeing it beforehand. And then if it's in the after effect, if it's something I'm catching up, I'm picking up on after the fact, it's like a subtle confirmation for me personally. And then at times when I'm receiving messages, a lot of times I write poetry, and I've come to realize that my poetry is in and of itself prophetic. It has been things that have come through me through the lens of my own experiences, and then I see them playing out in life outside of me. And I'll explain more on that later. But you know, my creative energy is tied to my spiritual sight and my spiritual senses, my all that, you know, all that good, you know, third eye stuff. So I will be taking a different approach to spirituality and channel messages and such than most people do here, and I'm not trying to, again, no shade to anybody. You know, everybody has their own purpose and their own process, and I like that. But for me, it feels wholly unique to my experience and what I'm going through. I currently I'm in the Bay Area, California. I won't. Well, you can probably look me up on that my community feed. I'm living in a place off of PCH. I'll just say that. And there's the ugly nose cam there, nose cam. But my time here in this location is running short. I have another month or so before I have to leave. I have, you know, my plans are not waiting for me anymore. Or my not my plans, my where I'm being guided to go is not going to wait forever. So I have to move on that now or soon. And I will be busy trying to just tie up loose ends here and get the funds together to do that. Which I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it will happen. So I'm not worried about that. I won't say no to any help, but I'm not sitting here asking for charity. I'm quite capable of handling my own needs. I'm scrappy. As I always said, I'm a scrappy little shit. I grew up middle class, but I am straight up ghetto. I'm a ghetto child, and I love that. Like I had to earn that. Like it took me being. I grew up very naive and ignorant as a child. Not in every sense of the word, but I was and not because I was predisposed to be that way, but because I was sheltered. I was extremely sheltered and overprotected, and for a long time, I resented that. I resented that because it was hindering my growth, and I knew on a soul level, on a spiritual level, I knew that I was being hindered. I was being held back by people in my life, and reality has shown me the ugly truth of that in recent years, and I'm finally just like, I have to move on. And if, I guess as a side note, if those people are watching, I do love you. I always will. But I'm at the end of the road here with that, and I need you to understand that. Like, I've gone as far as I could under your guidance, and it's not gotten me where I needed to be in life, and so I have to trust in my own inner knowing, and that's what y'all want me. That's what y'all wanted from me in the first place. So I hope you understand that. Like, that's what you tried to, you know, in your own misguided ways. You weren't wrong, but you were wrong in how you got me there. So I hope you understand, but I'm done. And for the rest of you who are not connected to me personally, that I hope this can provide some kind of insight into whatever you may be going through, something that can help you heal if you need it. That's the whole point of this. The whole point of this entire almost hour-long rant now, 3/4 of an hour or whatever. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it here, but that's I feel like going back to what I said about my life purpose being to show people the pain and the ugliness that I'm going through, not to be cringy or be a case study in how not to do things, to point fingers at, just throw shame and shade at, but or to even to conjure up any kind of feelings of sympathy, whether they're real or not. I don't want pity. I fucking hate pity. Pity, to me, pity is something that makes people weak, and I don't need that. You don't need that. We don't need that. If you want to be sympathetic or empathetic or compassionate, great. Those are not the same thing as pity, but I don't want anybody to feel sorry for me. I just want to speak, like I said, be raw and real and honest. And if something I say or something some story about my life can help in some way, help you work through any of your own issues or traumas or wounds, then that's what I want. And I've got a whole page and a half of notes here, but I'm not going to go into that right now. I'll get into that in another video. But anyway, I hope that y'all come back for more. And we'll see. I'll see you around. Love you guys. And I hope you know what I'm talking about. I love everybody. I love you all. And I wish you well. Don't forget to touch grass, y'all. Touch some grass. One love. Bye.